everyone, this is Beverley here from Reinventing-You, and I'm so delighted to have Marie Paterson with me on this interview, and she's just got so much to share with you as part of just joining us for this wonderful Reinvention convention. So Marie is a well-being trainer and coach. She's incredibly passionate about helping people to develop their life skills. She empowers them to take control of their career, their physical and mental well-being, and their life journey. Wow. Okay, so lovely to have you with me here this morning, Marie. Welcome.
Nice to see you, Beverley.
Yeah, nice to see you too. All right, so I think what would be really helpful, I think, for those who are listening to this interview this morning, is to just give them a little bit of an insight into your own reinvention and how you actually fell into the role of being a well-being trainer and coach within your own consultancy after working, I believe, for the health service for approximately 12 years. So that's quite a shift for you. So how did you manage to do that, Marie?
Well, I suppose I've reinvented myself a few times over my career. I started off as a secondary school teacher, teaching biology and science many years ago. Then I had my children. I moved from England to Scotland. I found it difficult to get a teaching job, and eventually ended up working at the university library, running one of the small libraries and working as a library assistant. And then from there I went into the health service, into health promotion, and that's sort of not an uncommon bridge between biology teaching and the health service. So there's quite an obvious sort of link there.
Absolutely.
And then from there I went into organisation development, really working with staff development in a whole different variety of ways. And it was actually through that, because I worked with developing staff, with running personal development training, that eventually decided that it was time for another change. And that other change was to set up on my own and to start running my own wellbeing training. And just before I left the health service, I trained as a coach. I'd been sort of informally coaching for a number of years, but I did a formal qualification a few years ago. So the new work involves that training, which is very close to teaching, and coaching, which I absolutely love.
Wonderful. They are very closely connected, aren't they?
Indeed.
Just to perhaps a slightly deeper level, and that must be kind of an exciting transition for you into sort of coaching and sort of really combining actually your teaching skills and your coaching skills. So you work, is it predominantly with women, or are you kind of just a mix of different clients that you tend to work with?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a mix. I mean, I have probably numbers-wise, I work with more women than men, but I do work with a number of men. I've done, one-to-one coaching with men, and they attend my course as well. So it is a mixture.
Right, wonderful. Okay, so when it comes to helping your clients take charge of their life, their career, particularly those in leadership roles, how do you see their health being affected in terms of, what they bring to the workplace, but, in a balanced way, or non-balanced way, should I say? How do you help them?
Yeah, I think people who've got really busy, stressful jobs, they have a very common pattern, which is, sort of up fairly early, out, and then on the go all day, come home, there's more emails, there's more things to do. There's probably a bit of rushing around, taking children to clubs and things after school and, things like that. And so they really have a sort of full on busy day. There's often no time for a lunch break, or, to just go for a quick stroll around the block at lunchtime or whatever. So it's really just a very full-on life, and often really hard to mentally switch off. There's a lot of important issues they're dealing with, a lot of responsibility for, either their clients, or, I work a lot back with people in the health service. So, worry about patients, and also just that pressure of lack of staff sometimes, so it's a really 24/7 sort of 365 job, I think, mentally, if not always physically. So that's a very common pattern.
Interesting, isn't it? And we often give focus to the physical aspects of, being on top of our health and well-being. But as you quite rightly said, when it comes to our mental health, our emotional health, how much have you seen that impact someone's ability to lead and, confidently within the workplace, especially women actually in leadership roles, and, just making sure they do have that time to stop and reflect and get their mindset back in gear?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes people, they just simply don't take that time until they end up going off sick. That's a very common pattern. So even though, people know that they ought to be looking after their physical and their mental health, they just keep going until, one day there's something, the straw that breaks the camel's back, and then they, often then go off on quite long-term sick. And that's not an uncommon pattern. And really, for me, it's about helping people to sort of take that step before they get there and really look at their life and see, what they can change. And sometimes it is about having a hard conversation with, the boss or colleagues to say, right, if you want me here, this is the amount that I can do. If there's more stuff, I won't be here at all. So, but that's a very hard conversation to have. And I think a lot of people just won't do that. And the first thing, sometimes that, other people realize is when they've gone off sick.
It's really sad, isn't it, when that inevitable result kind of sort of takes over their life, and then the health, takes almost second place.
And when you do get people who do recognize that, this is where I'm heading, and then take that responsibility, it's brilliant to see that, because they then will do things like put in their good relaxation, get out and do some exercise, learn to say no. There are a lot of things you can do to protect both your physical and your mental well-being.
Absolutely. And for this event, we've specifically chosen to focus on helping and supporting perennial women. And I know when we first spoke and we used the word perennial, which is a very fresh term, it was very fresh to you as well. So how did that resonate with you, Marie?
Well, it's quite funny, because I think, in my head, I am definitely no older than 18. That is, maybe it's stunted development or something, but, I just don't feel any different. I just feel like me, and I feel no different. So I suppose it really does resonate in that, you are who you are, and we don't need a label of age or a label of career journey or whatever, because, I've explained my career has really changed, and I don't think I've ever been as excited about work as I am now, and I'm obviously, not that young, but I certainly intend to keep working, because I just love what I do. I love helping people. I love empowering people to help themselves. I suppose that's it more than anything, or enabling people to help themselves. And, I've often joked with my daughter. I've got 2 daughters. I've often joked with them, it was a good job I didn't wait till I felt responsible enough as an adult to have children, because you 2 would never have appeared. And I still don't feel responsible enough to be their parent, and they're nearly 30. So,
Wow.
It's just, you don't wait for things. You need to just get on and do them. Don't wait for the right time, because who knows when it will come. Just jump in and get on with it.
Absolutely. It's wonderful, isn't it? I think that's why when initially I thought about the term perennial, and it was kind of fresh to me as well until more recently. And I kind of sort of thought this is a lovely term, because it is, as you quite rightly said, about being ageless. It's about, being creative. We're curious as well about what's next, and not letting anything really come into the pathway of stopping us from living that life, as you quite rightly said also, that, we don't know how long we've got, and why not make the most of it? It doesn't matter how old you are. Don't allow that to be a stopgap for you in any way.
And I also think, I think when I was 18, I probably wasn't even as physically fit as I am now, because I wasn't a great lover of exercise, and, at that age, and you probably don't worry about it quite so much. But, now in my later years, I've embraced running, and I do, Pilates, and I do different things that I didn't do back then. So I certainly don't feel, sort of weaker or less fit. I'm probably the fittest I've ever been. Sure, there's a few more aches and pains in joints that you don't get when you're 18, but other than that, I really, really don't feel any different.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, you certainly don't look that much different either, Maria.
I think I do.
Oh, wow. Okay, so being a woman in business and very active as well in your consultancy, how important have you found it to be part of a support network of other women as you continue to develop your business?
So one of the things that I try and sort of reach out to people with, I have a monthly newsletter, and I really, again, probably the majority of my subscribers are women. And in that, I do focus on well-being, but I also focus on the environment as well. So I think, for me, it's about helping people just to think a little bit differently, to know that there are people out there who are able to help them. I think that's one of the key messages. And to just challenge people a little bit to think about how they manage their life. And are there things that they need to add in that will help them to feel better? I guess, I live quite remotely. I suppose I don't connect with so many people, in the sense I'm not in the city and so on. But the lovely thing is that I can connect via the internet. I can coach online, which I do. I'm developing an online course, so I'll be reaching out to more and more people. And that network is not always, a physical in-person network, but it is about supporting people and reaching out in a variety of different ways. I hope that through all that people get to know what I'm about, and come and ask for help, and I'm always ready to offer it.
Absolutely wonderful. And I think that's one of the key values behind actually Reinventing-You and this Reinvention convention, really just getting the message out there that, isolation isn't great for anybody. Just being part of a community, like-minded women in this particular context. And just realizing that, sometimes you might be out there on a limb and you think, oh, gosh, does anyone think or anyone feel the way I feel? And you realize that once you have that connection, that what you're feeling is actually quite normal.
Oh, I mean, having coached lots of people, and I also work as a mediator, or have done quite a lot. There is nothing new. There is definitely somebody out there, many people out there feeling the same, going through very similar struggles. Yes, it's nuanced for you particularly, but there will be people out there. And the great thing is that there's a lot of support out there as well.
Absolutely.
It's not always obvious where it is, but I think, there is a lot. Nobody should be on their own, that's for sure.
Absolutely. A number of women who I meet and coach, and just in general conversations that I have within my network, often share the fact that, being a woman in business, but also those who are new to the whole kind of arena of becoming a business owner, can be incredibly daunting. You don't necessarily come into it with all of the business skills, nor the marketing skills, and all the technical skills that one could expect that are required as part of the role of being a business owner. And unfortunately, as a result of the extreme stress, sometimes the pressure that sometimes we put on ourselves to perform and to get better at what we do, can be overwhelming in some respects. So unfortunately, things like stress and anxiety become sort of key symptoms of, this overwhelm that one is experiencing. As a woman in business yourself, how do you manage to keep yourself on track without being prey to many of these symptoms that some other women in business, and particularly those as well who are also thinking about coming along to the event and setting up a business? What guidance could you offer them here? Just a few tips.
Well, I think I'd be brutally honest and say that actually starting up a business, going from a secure, in my case, public sector, or if you come from a secure, commercial background, private sector background, starting up your own business is very, very challenging. I think a lot of the media and the social media sort of stuff makes it seem like it's easy and it's a breeze, but it is not. And there are, as you rightly say, Beverley, loads of skills that you don't have. I have to say, I have loved learning those new skills. I've done my own website. It may not be fantastic, but I've learned so much, learned to do my own newsletter. I've done so many different things that I've learned new skills around, the finances, etc. The marketing, which I find extremely difficult because, from never having to look for work, it was like overwhelmed, too much work before from within the job, to actually trying to go out there and get work. So it's a very different mindset, very different, shift. So there are absolute pluses, and I certainly would never go back. I absolutely adore what I'm doing and love it. But I am also in a very fortunate position in that, I have a husband who has a very good job. And so there's not the same financial pressure on me. But if I was trying to run my own house and do everything, I think I would have needed a couple of years of finance behind me before I could really, jump in full time to my own business. And I think, we know from the stats, so many new businesses fail. And I think whilst I'm an optimist by nature, I think there has to be a level of realism in terms of setting up a business that, how will you afford to keep yourself for a few years while you get established, because it does really take that time. And I think from all the people I've spoken to, it does feel often 2, 3, 4, 5 years, in fact, before they really are well established. So that's a real key thing to think about. I think also in terms of actually managing on a day-to-day basis, I think for me, it's about being very focused on my work time. So I allocate, time to work,
Great.
and also having, really proper downtime away from it. So, and that is quite difficult to manage because you're always drawn back to, or just see if there's another email, or I'll just check this or check that. So it's about working well or working hard in the time you've allocated to work, and then relaxing well in the time that you give yourself off, and trying to keep, a bit of a barrier between those. I think human nature means we probably don't do that very well. But also I think, for people who are thinking of going into business on their own, I would say go and talk to as many, newly or, fairly new businesses that are maybe similar, or not even similar, but, for example, maybe a one-man band or a small limited company, or whatever it is you're thinking of setting up. Go and speak to those people beforehand and really get to know what their challenges were and how they managed to develop and establish their business, to give you a good idea of how long, it would take you to get going really with it. But I think if you, if you are, what you want to do, and you work hard on it, and what you need to do, especially in terms of marketing, getting yourself out there and so on, it can be an incredibly rewarding job to do. And as I say, I wouldn't change it for anything. But it does not, it does come with its challenges for sure.
Absolutely. And one of the lovely things about coming along to this event is that we are going to be addressing the money mindset, the wealth element, because it is really important. The session that you're going to be particularly going to be sharing with women who come along to the day is how much your health is your wealth, and giving them some key tips and tools to be able to make sure that there is a great balance between how they approach that, if they are already in business or if they're thinking about starting a business. What's one of the key secret ingredients that you will be sharing on the day, Marie, that might just, give them some kind of insight as to what they can expect to hear from you within your particular session?
Well, to me, the key message that I would like to get over is there is help out there. Whatever problem you've had or whatever issue you're struggling with, there's a book about it, there's a blog about it, there's a course you can go on, there's an Audible book to read or listen to, or there's people to reach out to and get help from. So whilst you might have challenges, someone's done it before, someone's solved it, someone's got some really good key tips and ideas for that. So whether it's an aspect of your physical or your mental health, or whether it's an aspect of business development or career or whatever it might be, there is a wealth of knowledge out there, and I want to encourage people to tap into that and never be alone.
Absolutely. Fantastic. And I think also the fact that on the day where there's going to be a whole network of 8 brains coming together. So there's a wonderful synergy of ideas and creativity and experience as well, so that we can help shorten that learning curve for women who also come along on that day. Because I know when I started, there was just so many books, there were so many people that I subscribed to. Looking at my list now, looking at those who I know have unsubscribed from, I just realized that I was just doing too much at the start, and I wish I'd had that essential information that I now have. So what we can do is actually pass that information on to women who come along to the day. So you can start with the right mindset, start with the right tools, learn from our mistakes as well in our journey, and give them the best start as possible. Fantastic. So for those women who are sitting on the fence at the moment and thinking about coming along to the Reinvention Convention, by the way, that's on February the 4th at the Hotel Edinburgh, and you've not quite made your decision yet, what would you say to them, Marie?
Well, again, it goes back to, you are not alone. Come and join us. As Beverley, as you say, there's 8 brains to pick. People who've been there before have got knowledge that we can share with you. And you'll also meet other people. Having those connections is absolutely crucial in terms of your mental well-being, and also to inspire you and to support you to move forward. So it's a day invested in yourself, and we deserve those every now and again, don't we?
Absolutely. I couldn't have put it better myself. Marie, thanks so much for joining me in this interview today. I know already you have shared quite a lot in this interview, but hopefully there's enough in there that we've shared that will inspire and motivate and empower women out there to come along and join us on the day, because it's going to be a fantastic opportunity to meet new friends as well. That's a big part of this whole initiative. It isn't just about the event, is it, Marie? We've created this so that there's an aftercare support as well service. The implementation of what you learn on the day is absolutely key to make sure you get the best from your investment in yourself and financially by coming along on the day. So thanks very much, Marie. I'm sure we'll speak again very soon. I'm excited to see you on the 4th, and look forward to that day very, very much so. All right. Take care now then. Bye-bye.
Thanks very much, Beverley. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.